Okay, so I think I'm going to start with my first actual book review. I am totally obsessed with books, and especially business books and books that have to do with like inspiration and motivation and self improvement. And I've been in like this kick of, sorry, my shirt's a little bit like, there you go. So I've been in this kick of reading like all these books about business and just about like growth and like just things that I don't know. And I figured, when you read books, you're able to kind of really sit down and just in a matter of a day or two, you can pick up so much knowledge that somebody else experienced, and you're pretty much like fast forwarding yourself into the future by absorbing all this information from somebody else who probably made mistakes. That being said, I want to start with my first book review, and I'm just going to pick the book that I read, the one I just read last. I'm reading one right now by Simon Sinek, which is called The Start with Why. I just started that one. It is actually really good, but I'm not going to do a review, of course, until I finished. Sorry, my shirt is really bothering me. I feel like I need to like fix this. Yeah, and so basically the book that I'm going to do is, let me turn around here. Hold on, where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay, so, let me make sure I don't mess this up. So, this book, okay, so this book is called Sell or Be Sold, by Grant Cardone. And for those who don't know, Grant Cardone is this like huge magnet. He basically is in the sales training business. So he basically pretty much he goes to companies that are struggling with sales, and he he pitches them his business plan, and his goal is to get, of course, the company to be more profitable by training his agents. I am totally fascinated by this guy. Of course, there's certain things that like I kind of like think and don't agree with, and I mean, I feel like that's normal with any human being, but for the most part, about like 95% of the stuff that he says or he's written, I think it's amazing. I've actually read like 3 of his books, which I'll do book reviews on in the future, but this is the one I just read, so I want to talk about. I literally just finished it yesterday. It's called Sell or Be Sold, and he a little bit more about Grant Cardone. So that's his core business, and then he has other businesses where he takes the money that he makes from this company, that he helps companies to become profitable by training their sales agents. He takes that money, he invests it in real estate, more specifically in apartment buildings and dwellings. And now he's actually started a company called Cardone Capital, which he basically started funds, and he's created these funds to pretty much broker these huge apartment deals and be able to buy really expensive high-end apartments, because for him, he says apartment communities, it's the easiest cash flow. He puts the money in, and then all that money that comes in from the tenants, he takes that money, he invests it right back to pay down his debt, and it's just like a cycle in cash flow. It's like completely brilliant. That being said, lost my train of thought. Oh, he even actually closed a deal here in Savannah for like $30 million. But I mean, getting sidetracked. Anyway, he even has like seminars that he does as well. He has a bunch of training material and whatever. On the book. So basically, the book Sell or Be Sold, he talks about, and I've read a lot of sales books. I would say this is probably one of my favorites. The reason being, he doesn't just tell you how to become a good sales agent. He talks about how, first of all, he starts talking about how sales is extremely important in career and in life. He is extremely adamant about the fact that you need to be good at sales to be successful in life, regardless if selling is your profession. He doesn't believe in selling as a job. He believes in selling as a career. And he complains a lot about, or not complains, but he talks a lot about the fact that selling and salesmanship has a bad rep because of just like, bad seeds. Just like I used to work in accounting, and because of that huge Enron scandal, a lot of like accountants also were looked down upon, and the industry kind of was tightened a bit because of things that happened. So the same thing with selling. He talks about how a lot of people see selling as like, oh, here comes this sleazy salesperson that's gonna talk really fast. It's gonna, pressure me to do something, or it's gonna lie to me, and he pretty much kind of breaks that into chapters, and then he explains how to be the best, how to be good. And what really set this book apart for me was the fact that he pretty much, and this is something, I work in sales now and I see it day in and day out, a lot of salespeople, it's easy, and sometimes I do it too, for us to shift our blame outward and say, oh, this person didn't buy it because they did this, or this person didn't buy it because of that, or that person just didn't have any money, or that person this, or that person that, or that person said they have to talk to their wife, or this or that. This book changes your perspective because it tells you how it's all on you. You control your outcome, and for you to be successful in life and be successful in your career as a salesperson, you're in control. If you don't get the sale, it's not because the person needed to talk to their wife or they needed to think about it. It's because you as an agent didn't do your due diligence to understand what the person needed, what their goals were, what was, you didn't turn all the stones, you didn't uncover what really was important to the person, and thus you didn't crack the code into selling them. And this book tells you not step by step, because it's not a how-to book. It's more so on the type of persona that you should be. And I'll just flip to a page like this one. It says chapter 10, establishing trust. So show, don't tell. A lot of salespeople, which sometimes I get caught up in this too, we tend to, especially when we are in a team environment, we get sucked into the whole competing, and we say, okay, well, that person just made a sale, let me focus on selling. And so when you're talking to the customer, you're focusing on your commission, and you're thinking of like what money you're going to make from selling this person in person or over the phone. And people are smart. Like, people are not dumb. They understand this, and they've been in situations like this. They know when they're feeling pressured. They know when in your brain all you're thinking is about money and commission, and they put walls and they get guarded, and then the agent gets frustrated. So for instance, this chapter talks about establishing trust, show, don't tell. If you focus on helping the person and they understand that you're there for them, they let their guard down. By letting their guard down, you're able to build trust, build value, and connect. At the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we want to connect as people. And when you connect with somebody, they trust you. When they trust you, they're more than likely to buy it from you. And for example, this chapter talks about that. This is another one that for me, it was another chapter. Is chapter 9, which was one that for me took me a while to understand. And I read this and I was like, wow, I didn't know I was doing this. I tend to disagree a lot with people, just because it's just in my nature. And I didn't realize that I was doing it in a selling environment. And sometimes I would be talking to somebody either on the phone or in person, and they might say something and it would trigger something that I knew was wrong, and I would stop them in their tracks. The problem when you do that is automatically people put their guard up. They get that surge of emotion, and they're guarded, and their thought process switches all of a sudden from an offense, from being calm, cool, and collected to a defense mode. In a selling environment, you want people to put their guard down and to be relaxed. This chapter talks about agreeing with the customer first. It doesn't matter what they say, tell them you're right. Once you tell them that you are right, you pretty much disarm them. Once you disarm them, then you're able to say, although the reason why I think so and so and so is because this and that, and they are able to now understand it from a different perspective. Once you do that and you say you're right, they're going to follow you 9 times out of 10. So this chapter was really, really good. And another chapter that's not in here was the one about his wife, or actually no, I'm gonna talk about this one. I'm just gonna do three because I mean each chapter in here is amazing. But this hard sell one, it's chapter 12. It's called Hard Sell. It basically talks about how, which again, this has taken me a bit to understand, is that in selling, I have a natural ability to speak and use words that get people to really pay attention to me, and I have this trusting personality that people get drawn to. So those are my strengths, and those are my good qualities. I struggle sometimes with the close. And so, you know, my first sales job was kind of a little bit different than I'm in right now, because, or I won't say sales job, I would say sales gig, because I really look at sales as a career because I really enjoy and I'm passionate about it. My first sales career or sales career was a little bit different in the sense that I really wasn't asking for money. So for me, it was a lot easier when it came to closing. This one, I'm asking people for money, and it's taken me a while to really understand the whole close process. This chapter talks about how you, in sales, you have your selling, which is step A, and then closing, which is step B. And so just because you sold well doesn't mean that you're going to close well. They correlate one with each other, and they should work like this. But just because somebody is good at selling doesn't really mean that somebody's good at closing. In order for you to get good at closing, you have to train, work at it, and you have to do it repetition. This chapter talks about getting comfortable with being able to be in a hard sell environment, which is getting to the close and staying calm, cool, and collected when somebody is stalling, when somebody is getting emotional, when somebody is rejecting you, when somebody says no, when somebody says the price is too high, when they give you an objection. This chapter talks about how that hard sell environment is something that once you get used to doing it, writing the objections and pushing through it because you know that your product is going to help this person's pain point or problem, and it's gonna be there. Not, I'll take a step back. It's not just about the product, but because they're not getting you in the deal, and that's what this chapter sets it apart. Not just the product. It's about you as an agent and saying, this is what I bring to the table as a human being. Me, you're getting Leo. You're gonna get Leo in this deal, and the fact that you're gonna get me alone is why you need this product, because I'm gonna make sure that you get A, B, C, you're gonna get this product, you're gonna get service, anything that happens, any complaints, any problems that arise, any troubles, any questions, I'm gonna be there to service that. And so the hard sell stems from the fact that for you to get comfortable in that, you have to first sell yourself in the product. And once you sell yourself in the product, you'll be comfortable with being in an environment of a hard sell to be able to push through it and get to the sale, which is being comfortable with the close. And so to kind of wrap this rant that I've been on, obviously I'm extremely enamored with this guy. I think he's brilliant. He started as a auto sales guy. He said he hated the job, and then he said even though he hated it, he wanted to get good at it so he can master the game. He had kind of a rough upbringing. His dad died when he was 10. His mom had this like a totally different mindset of him, saying save your money, do this, don't work hard, like don't risk your stuff, don't risk your career, like, you know, be more on like the be careful, you know, kind of that mindset, as opposed to an entrepreneurial, like go for it, give it all you got mindset. And he broke from that, and he has other books that I'll do a book review on, but this is the one I just read, and I recommend it because it definitely is something that if you want to get good at your game, you definitely need to train. And for me, because I love to read, it definitely is my way to do. He also has he's very active on social media, so you can find him there. But I mean, so far is one of my favorite selling training books of all time. So yeah, so Grant Cardone, everybody. My name is Leo. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. This book is actually a New York Times bestseller, so you can find it at any bookstore. I'm sure you can find it online. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully I didn't bore you. I'll be doing a lot more from the ones you see behind me. And yeah, and thank you. Bye.